everybody. My name is Antoinette. I'm one of the founders of the organization, the Women's Entrepreneur Opportunity Project Incorporated. We started our business like 1999, like 23 years ago. So I like the topic today because we're always thinking about ways that we can earn profit for our organization. And for anybody on the call who's in fact a nonprofit organization, having other streams of income is very important in terms of, and I know, Mona, you're going to get into all that. So I just want to say hi, welcome to the call. I'm going to turn it over to you. Just say that we've been affiliated for a long time. I'm going to let you talk about what you've done as an entrepreneur businesswoman so the audience can kind of get to know you. And we're going to open the conversation up. As you know, I will be jumping in just for housekeeping. You can make comments in the chat. We'll be watching the chat room. If anybody else would like to share resources, feel free, because even though we are on a virtual call, it is all about networking as well. So utilize the chat to write your name, your business, to share information, to just say kudos, to do emojis, whatever you want to do. So the things that we cannot do in person, I encourage you to use the chat to do that. So it is now 1:09, and we're going to open the conversation up, Mona. So I'm going to turn it over to you. And
Okay.
interactive, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. And as we talk through the conversation, I will bring your attention to it.
Absolutely. Well, welcome folks for attending this very, we all want more ways to create multiple profit centers and revenue streams. So it's needed in this day and time. So my name is Mona Brown. I am an author. I've written one book. I'm writing another book now. And I consider myself to be a women's empowerment speaker and a global impact coach. And the global impact coach actually comes from the fact that I do some very important work with a lot of international students that come to America. And perhaps I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I have nearly 30 years of experience in corporate consultative sales, business development, and marketing experience in several industries over the years. Because a lot of the times I would work and I would come out of work, start a business, and then go back to work. So I was in and out of corporate America. So that experience is coupled with over 25 years as a serial entrepreneur, where I've founded and operated 9 different businesses, and I've sold one of the businesses. So I had anything from, I started back in the early 90s when gift baskets were very popular. I owned a gift basket business, an interior decorating business. I had a traveling boutique. I did career development consulting. I did business development consulting. And then we talked earlier about the business brokerage and the commercial real estate business. And now I have a bed and breakfast here in San Diego, and I am a part of the travel and tourism industry. And I have a nonprofit. I have a 501c3 now. So always finding ways to expand. And also, I might add that I have about 10 years of experience as an instructor in the personal development area. And I'm pursuing my DBA, which I'm on break right now. But the goal is that's part of the retirement contingency plan, because I know that we can teach until we're 200 years old. So I figure, you know what, I would love to teach entrepreneurship at a university level. So why not get the credentials to be able to do that? And I also want to share my favorite quote that I live by. And it's, empty the coins in your purse into your mind, and your mind will fill your purse with gold. And so that's what we're talking about here: personal development, education, being knowledgeable, always in the know of different things. And those are the keys to life's journey. We should always be in that frame of wanting to learn something new. So let's face it, much of what we'll discuss today is based on mindset, keeping an open mind, and not putting any limitations on yourself. So we'll dig right on in. There's different, I just want to say, that there is a difference between revenue and profit. Okay, so we're talking about increasing revenue streams. I always like to refer to them as revenue, and also profit centers. So, you can be earning revenue in parts of your business but not profiting. So the goal is really to focus on, how do I profit? How can I profit? How can I get additional revenue streams? And how do I make those profitable? Because you can create a revenue stream, but if you're creating the expenses that puts you at a break even, then you're not all your work is not you're not being able to see the fruits of your labor, because you're not beyond that break even point. So with that in mind, I want you to think in terms of multiplication versus addition. So we're not necessarily saying add some things. We're saying multiply, which means leverage what you already have and find ways to branch, create branches from what you're already doing, not add to necessarily. So, and millionaires think in terms of multiplication anyways, and I hope that most of your goals are to become a wealthy in some way. So, but there are different ways that you can look at income. There's active, that's trading time for dollars, working for someone, where you're kind of tethered to a desk or to an office. And then of course there's passive income, where you make money while you sleep. And I would like to add to this passive income real estate, because there are ways to make passive income through real estate, whether you own it or not. And you all pretty much know what I'm referring to, Airbnb, and also portfolio income when you're talking about investments. I would also like to add real estate to that as well. All right, so
Can I share? Mona,
yeah, absolutely, please.
Let me share a fact, because I was doing some research last week, and they said people that reach the millionaire status sometimes have about 7 multiple sources of income. And that is a proven stat that, we can't all get our money from one source. And sometimes when I speak with entrepreneurs, sometimes they're steadfast on that. It's great to grow your business, but you still have to think how you can get money from other sources that maybe complement your business. But I thought that was an interesting stat about millionaires. Like, even when you look at some of the famous celebrities, you think, oh, they're making money from the music, but they might have perfume, or they might have shoes, or they might have liquor, or they might, it's just so many ways where they can make money. And I don't know if you're going to hit upon this down the line, as you go through your presentation. And then you have the impact of AI, which in terms of income level, it can help you increase your efficiency of how you add other streams of income, because you have multiple tools. So I just need to kind of add that.
Yes, that's so true. Most of my mentors who are multimillionaires, one of my mentors has about 20 streams of income. And by the way, he doesn't look like me. He doesn't look like me at all. But he is the one that really taught me a lot about leveraging, how to use what you already have and leverage it to do more. So with all that being said, you do have to plan for this growth, for this scalability. And so you have to assess your current situation to really come to terms with where you are. And then you have to strategize and plan for the growth so that you know where you want to go, where you're going. So right now, many of you might be at one of these 4 levels. So of course, in the startup phase, it could be a new venture that you're starting, or it could be an added venture that you're starting. So you might be at the maturity stage of your business, but then you're adding or you're multiplying, I should say. You're starting a new venture within your business. So you could be, some of your business could be at the startup phase. And then at the growth phase, that's where you could be experiencing some growing pains. We're going to talk about some of the challenges for each of these life cycles for your industry or in your business. And so for the growth phase, like I said, you could be in a place where you're experiencing growing pains. And we'll talk about that. And then, of course, the maturity phase is where you're operating at your fullest potential. So you've reached the peak of what it is that you do, whether you're providing a product or a service. And then the decline is kind of where you might be at the burnout phase of your life cycle. Which means that you could actually be pivoting or at the reinvention phase within the decline.
Mona, it would be interesting for the people on the call if in the chat they could just, with the one word, they can just share with us where they are: startup, growth, maturity, or decline.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick where I am. I'm going to pick growth. So everybody can just like, hey, where are you? Startup, growth, maturity, or are you at decline? Give us kind of an overview of like who, somebody said maturity, growth, startup, growth.
Mm-hmm.
Startup.
And I can't see the chat, so if you could just share with me like what you're seeing most of.
Yeah, I see about 4: growth, startup, but feeling burnt out, decline, growth and maturity, startup, growth, starting to see incline.
Mm.
I feel decline most of the time. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Decline. In fact, Hermes made a comment saying, I feel decline most of the time. That's why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, growth and burnt out a lot, laugh out loud, but hanging in there.
Well, wherever you are in your phase,
Growth and burnt out, growth and burnout again. So we had some startups, growth and burnout, and declined.
so not much maturity. Not many people are in that maturity phase where they feel like they're operating at the fullest potential of their business. So it sounds like the majority are in the other 3 phases: startup, growth.
We have half and half. We have startup, we have growth, and then I did have about 4 declines.
Mm-hmm.
And burnt out.
So, well, hey, no matter where you are, the bottom line is growth can mean different things to different business owners. So it can mean anywhere from adding a product or a service, expanding your sales, moving to another location or expanding your location. It could mean adding a virtual assistant, someone who can help you with menial tasks that gives you the freedom to really focus on working in your business. It could mean increased revenue. But whatever the case is, the growth should help you to create the lifestyle you want.
Shauna mentioned, did you mention the growing pains that made me feel like I'm not the only one feeling like I do?
Oh yeah. Yeah, growing pains are actually a good thing. It's a good thing because it means that there's movement, something's happening. So, but you just have to figure out a way to channel the pain and the growth to really get the best result that you can. So these are some of the challenges. So you know, during that, in that growth phase, you might be experiencing some financing issues or not having enough capital, you know, needing to hire staff, not being able to do it all, putting systems in place so that you are more, you know, you're operating at the optimal level and you're more organized. Some of the, you know, you could be in a lack of time, not being able to manage your time, and you need to, you know, figure out, how do I time block? How do I get all that I need done within timeframes? And some of you already chose what it is that you're feeling in your particular phase. So in the decline, you could be burned out. You know, you could be in that reinvention. You know, sometimes when you get to that decline, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because it gives you, especially if you're creative and you keep your mind open, it gives you an opportunity to create something new or create something different. So these are just some of the challenges that you might be feeling. No, you're not alone. In this 25-year or more entrepreneurial journey, I have been in every phase. And that is why I have been a serial entrepreneur, because in some ways I found that, like, for example, when I first started off with the gift basket business, I mean, it was very popular at first, and then it wasn't so popular. And so you look at the gifting business or the gifting industry now, it has changed. You have people putting together what they call boxes, gift boxes. So, you know, when you get to a point when you feel that, and you see the results that you're not, maybe there's been a decline in interest of a service or a product that you offer, then you move on to something else. And so what I did in that particular moment, I took that gift basket business and I said, you know what? I love interior decorating. So what I did was I started, instead of putting lotions and perfumes and things like that in the gift baskets, I actually created these home interior gift baskets. And guess who I sold them to? Real estate agents, who then gave them as closing gifts to their clients who were closing on homes. So those baskets grew into something much bigger than just a regular gift baskets. I'd have, you know, miniature tabletop grandfather clock with a couple of decorative pillows and candles and picture frames, like anything that you can accessorize your home with, I would put it in that gift basket. So that's how, you know, that's an example of how you, when you realize that you need to move on to something better, or, you know, something more creative, you think of a way to do that. Anyone have an idea that they have had to do, or something that they've had to do when they noticed that, you know, their product wasn't selling? Anyone want to share something creative that they did to expand on their product or service? I can't see any faces.
Did you want us to unmute or just
Yeah,
do our face?
yeah, you can just chime in.
Okay. I think I put in the comments. And I love what you said, because it kind of makes you, because a lot of times we're by ourselves doing our thing. So when you said that decline feels this way, I felt like, am I decline? Because I'm burned out. But then you said, you know, sometimes you reinvent, and that also made me feel better, because sometimes you don't know, is this normal, until somebody like you says it's normal, and then it kind of makes you feel a little better because other people are going through it. But for me, I'm switching from a full branding agency. I still have it, but I'm going to put it as a back end service, and I'm going to lead with the social media marketing agency, because people understand that, right? They value social media, and it's what is important for business. So that's my pivot, and I'm doing it right now. Now, granted, it's tough.
Yeah.
but I'm doing it.
Yeah, so you're actually at two of the phases. You're at the decline because you're reinventing, and then you're at the startup because you're creating something new. Your approach is new. So thank you for sharing. What's your name?
My name is Shauna. I was invited by someone here. Jamie Crockett invited me.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing.
Donna, share with us your website address so we can take a look at your business. That would be great. And you know, Mona, as you were speaking, and I don't know if anybody else had an idea, but when you were talking about real estate, because I know quite a few real estate agents where what's happening with the housing market right now is that the interest rate is so high. It's not a lot of affordable housing. So that was an interesting idea of how, if you're in the real estate industry, how you can do something where you're selling to other real estate agents. So
Mm-hmm.
it could be a service, it could be decorating, but it might be that some of the people in that particular field may think of other revenue streams that they could do to sell to, or it might be ebook. When your real estate sales not booming, what other things can you do in the market? Or you just have to be as creative and try to maybe find something that complements your industry of what you're in.
Yes. Yeah,
And
because like the old folks say, it's more than one way to skin a cat, so you have to take the limits off. And I believe Hermins has a question.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My question is, how do you keep yourself from being scattered
Mm,
when it comes to, because I'm someone, I have 5 and 1 million ideas, and I'd love to put them all out there, but at some point I feel scattered. And so
mhm.
I'm really trying to bring it down so that I can focus. Hence, and so how do you keep from like just going off like, oh, this idea comes up, oh great, I'm gonna try and make this into a stream of income. So
Yeah.
how do you keep yourself from being scattered? And then what keeps you, like, if you're gonna have multiple, what keeps you from like staying the course with one idea and not giving up so easily because it's not bringing in the revenue just
Well,
as
yeah, those are excellent questions. For me, it's all about strategizing. So you have to be methodical, and that comes we that just segues right into our next slide. So you have to be about strategic planning. You want to figure out where you are, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there. So I know this might sound very boring to do, but it helps to have a strategy. And when I start going over these 9 strategies, you might not want to approach all 9. Pick one or pick 2 and just focus on that. But you really want to come up with a vision statement. Like, you want to envision, okay, what do I want to do? What, let me just give you an example. So some of you probably already have vision statements, so you might need to update your vision statement. So for me, I just recently launched my 501c3, which goes hand in hand with my travel and tourism business and my bed and breakfast business. So my goal is well, I'll just read my vision statement. So for example, my vision statement is to facilitate 1,000 global connections per year via social, business, and immersive adventures among young adults. So I'm matching the international students with the American students, and in particular, African American students, because I want to encourage African American adults, young adults, to build global relationships. So I was very strategic in creating this nonprofit, this 501c3. And so I was able to create my vision statement, and my vision statement basically told me what I will be doing. And so a part of your strategic planning, and I know as an entrepreneur, sometimes we get that shiny object syndrome. Oh, that looks good, I'll do that. That looks good, I'll do that. But you really, when you look at these 9 strategies, you have a good you have a good playbook to work with. So you will choose maybe one or two, and then you will start your strategic planning process. So you also want to know what the competition, what the market looks like in your industry. So you do want to do a SWOT analysis. You want to know what did someone say something? Was that you, Mary? Oh, I was going to say, you do want to know what your, okay, so let me ask you, who knows what SWOT stands for? And you can just chime in because I can't see faces.
I do.
All right, so tell everybody what SWOT stands for.
So SWOT stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to any program, any activity, any idea. And so basically it's a 4-quadrant kind of form, or it could be, and then you list out what the strengths are for the idea or whatever, and what the weaknesses are, and what the opportunities may be based on the idea and what has come about possibly in the past, in the present, and then the threats, what could really deter from this actually achieving. And you go through that, and from that, you're able to more effectively figure out if this is really the direction you need to go or what changes need to be made. So the goal is to have less threats, more opportunities, and less weaknesses and more strengths.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So to answer your question, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Hermanis?
No, Hermance.
So this answers your question. You really want to take the time to do a SWOT analysis. You don't want to just jump into something and not look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats before you make a decision, before you create a strategy to move forward. And just so you know, the strengths and the weaknesses are on the inside of the business or the idea. The opportunities and the threats are on the outside of the business or the idea or the competitor. So you want to do an analysis of that. And then you want to use your vision statement. You want to bring together your needs assessment, figuring out what you plan to accomplish in whatever period of time. You want to add all that information together. You want to set some goals that you can reach. It doesn't have to be within 3 years. It can be within 1 year, within 12 months. And then you figure out, okay, what do I need to do on a monthly basis to reach that goal? And you want to create some action steps so that you actually accomplish what it is that you are, planning to do. Whether it's in a month, a quarter, or even on a weekly basis. So that is how you stay focused. You set the goal, you put a time frame on it. So you basically set a SMART goal. Okay, so that's how you stay focused. So now,
can I share something too?
Yes.
Because I want to say that in this, when you're doing your planning and in your discovery with like, I can use my personal self, what I'm doing with my business. I found the 2 key words for me was automation and technology. Because when I did my study of other competitors or what other businesses are doing, they are really automating and utilizing technology, which is, even as an organization, we try to educate our women entrepreneurs about all this amazing technology that can make you more efficient. And now with AI is even, stronger than that. So what I discovered is I automated a tool. It's like I did something with the survey, automated a tool that I could work when I was doing my coaching. I could utilize that automated tool to get information, and not only get information, to actually provide information. And I was able to sell that tool to about 4 other entities.
Wow.
Wanted to utilize that tool. So I would say that as they're doing their strategic planning and thinking about, like a lot of people think about e-courses, but to see how they can more or less Sal, and I know you're gonna get into some of this, but have some kind of automated tool where you don't have to do anything, you're just providing that information on the other end.
Yes. Yep, we're gonna talk about that. Thank you for sharing. Is that Mary
No, no,
or
this is
Antoinette? All right, so let's dig in. Opportunities to scale and grow, and we will cover some of what Antoinette shared. That's a couple of the strategies that we'll talk about. So there are 9 ways to create multiple profit centers and revenue streams. There are more than 9. I just chose 9 because I personally have used most of these. So I'll start with leveraging technology. So I will say out of the 9, I am the weakest in this area. And so I will, and some of you may not be the weakest. This might be your strong area. But what I will say is that artificial intelligence, we have to embrace artificial intelligence or we're going to be left behind. And so some ways that you can use artificial intelligence, if you're a writer and you have writer's block, for example, artificial intelligence helps you to get off that blank page. No, you don't want to fully depend on artificial intelligence, but it just kind of helps, it brainstorms for you and gives you some ideas that you can, draw from and build on. So some examples of how you can leverage technology could be to, I don't know if any of you have heard of SaaS, and that's software as a service. It's essentially what apps are. The apps that we use to do certain things, that's what Uber is. It's a SaaS. So, you might have something that you want to put together for groups of people. So for example, you might want to create a meetup.com application, but you might want to create a meetup group so that you bring those people together. That's a good way to increase your client base. And so you can use that Meetup app to do that. You create the group and you put it on it automatically is marketed by Meetup. And so that's a great way for you to, for example, get some new customers or even some new business partners or strategic partners. But that's just an example of how you can leverage technology. For me personally, because I'm in the travel and tourism industry now, I have partnered with Airbnb. And so I do Airbnb experiences. And so I use the Airbnb app to get customers and to increase that revenue stream. I also use another app called Turo, Turo. And I have an extra vehicle, and so I rent that vehicle out. So I'm leveraging an asset that I have, but I'm using technology to do that. And so these are just some examples of what you can do to create a stream or a revenue stream. Another idea that comes to my mind concerning social media, because I'm not very strong on the social media side, but I do know that you can create, for example, just like a meetup group, you can create a Facebook group. For example, if you have a boutique for plus size women, you create a Facebook group and you go live on your Facebook group. I'm not talking about personal, just a business Facebook group. And you have an opportunity to showcase some of your apparel. You can even have, plus size models to go live and you show people what it is that you have in your boutique. So that's just an example of how you can create a Facebook group. Any questions there?
I wanted to add, Mona, can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to add to that SaaS, this software as a service. And a lot of times we're not thinking about, like when I was talking about what I did with my assessment, I actually utilized a SaaS platform.
Mhm.
You basically don't have to do any coding. If you have a great idea, like when I was looking at some of the, it could be an online marketplace where you want to connect food enthusiasts to other food enthusiasts. So if you have a great idea, you can find a SaaS that supports that great idea. You do no coding. You just basically program that SaaS around your idea. And what I did is I programmed the SaaS around a technology idea that I had. And you use that platform, you subscribe to use that platform. And there are people who have raised millions of dollars utilizing SaaS platforms for a business idea.
Mhm.
And it sounds so complicated, but it's really not. So I just want to plant that seed because I think everybody on the call should actually look at SA. Actually, if you do surveys, that's a SaaS platform. Anybody doing a survey is utilizing a SaaS platform. You're going into that SaaS platform, you're designing your own questions, you're getting your own output, utilizing somebody else's a SaaS platform. So just think about a survey or something automated that you can do with your customers to connect them to each other or to start a membership group or whatever, utilizing a SaaS platform. Then you could take that, go to Innovation Hub and try to raise millions of dollars around your particular idea.
Yeah, I love that.
I was like, but we just want, as you think about revenue streams, think about utilizing those SaaS. And I'm going to put it in the chat because you should do your research. We can't go into like all the detail, but it could be a way, and I put it in the chat, SaaS platforms, software as a service that you create something creative around your business, utilizing coders and developers that already have that automation for you, basically.
Mm-hmm. And let's face it, all of us are very, I mean, we use apps to do everything, to do a lot of things, I should say. We use apps to order food. We use those apps to order rides. I mean, we use a lot of apps. So if you can create some way of, maybe forming a membership, like Antoinette said, you can use an app that's already done all of the hard work, all of the leg work. You can create something like that through, for example, Facebook group or Meetup. So, I mean, you just have to be creative and you have to really think and play big. Okay. All right. So the second strategy is train the trainer. So essentially, this strategy, you would basically, if you have a service, and even if you don't have a service, even if you have a product, you can actually train someone else to do what it is that you do. And a good example of someone that I've personally used as a trainee is she's a local speaker trainer there in Atlanta, and her name is Dr. Sonja Stribling, and that's Sonja Stribling, Stribling. So if you're interested in becoming, which we're going to cover some of that as some of the other strategies, she does a very great job, an excellent job. She's very dynamic, does an excellent job training other people to be speakers. Okay, so think about what it is that you do that can service other people in your industry, and create some kind of training that allows you to train them to do a better job in your industry. And this is kind of subject matter expert in infopreneuring. It's kind of similar to train the trainer, but the difference is you're, for example, selling your knowledge. For example, creating a course, and you know, so basically you're using your intellectual knowledge to, you know, to get revenue. You're creating revenue from your intellectual property. So you want to, when you're a subject matter expert on something, then you can actually create a course, and you create that course one time, and it's a virtual course. It's a automated course. You find a platform like Thinkific, which is a SaaS platform, and you download you put your course on Thinkific, and anyone that, you know, buys your course, you don't have to be there. It's a recorded course. So it's a great way to make some passive income and to sell your knowledge, your intellectual property. So this is a good way to do that. I would be interested in knowing,
Mona, can I share one other thing?
yeah, but also, before I lose my thought, I would also like to know, do most people offer a product or a service, or what do you offer in whether it's can you share whether it's a product or a service in the chat? All right, go ahead. Is that Antoinette?
Yes. I'm looking at the chat, and first I tell people were saying service, product, service, service, service. Okay. And then as you were speaking, when you were talking about subject matter expert, the infopreneuring, in the chat, if you notice, I wrote something about example of a SaaS, SaaS. I wanted to show people example of an actual business. And there's a business started called Praxis, Praxis Labs. And what they do is virtual reality-based diversity and inclusion training modules for the workplace. And they raised $18.7 million. And they use a SaaS platform to create this particular idea. So people are raising a lot of money. So as you were talking about subject matter expert, it brought me to this example, because as you're thinking, when you talk back about strategic planning, as they're thinking about what to do, it's so important for them to look at examples of companies that are doing it. And when you think about it, a virtual reality-based diversity and inclusion training modules is more simplistic than anything. It's almost like you're training, and it's in the modules, and you already utilize a Thinkific or a SaaS to do it. So it was just a prime example. And if everybody could look in the chat, write it down, do your research, and use this as a SaaS example. So I kind of wanted to add that.
What's the name again? Sorry, Antoinette, what's the name again of the company? Because that's exactly what I've been trying to do with my DIA services. I wanted online courses.
And they raised 18.7 to emphasize. It's Praxis Labs. XIS Labs. And you know, I have your email, so I'm getting ready to send you an article that I've researched. It's the article titled how 20 women founders who have raised more than $1 million. And it goes into details about specifically what kind of businesses that they're doing. So Hermes, I send that link to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
And again, it's about doing your research.
Yes, because unfortunately we don't have the time to go deep into these, but as you can see already, you know, this is combining, leveraging the technology and subject matter expert to really take your business to the next level. You're just using two of the strategies and bringing them together.
Okay, Mona, sorry. So you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I know you're excited.
No, I just wanted to share that because I just can't emphasize the importance of SaaS, really understanding. We could do a whole workshop specifically on just SaaS examples, how people raise money, but we don't have the time to do that. But just want to make sure that people are doing their research so that could be a revenue stream for their business. Okay, back to you.
All right. So the next one we want to think about is ways to license our intellectual property and get royalties, and not just license the intellectual property, but you can get royalties from you know, any assets that you have. And of course, intellectual property is an asset, but you might have a rental property, or you might have an extra automobile. Like, you can leverage those, which I'm sure you know, if you have a property. I mean, I would hope that you'd have someone living in your property helping to pay that mortgage. But licensing and royalties, think about writing an ebook. You know, I talked earlier about train the trainer. So you can put together a step-by-step process of how to do something more effectively, and you can author that piece of information and, you know, publish it and receive royalties from it. So, because I wrote an ebook a few years ago, and then I converted the ebook into a book. And it's a very small book, but it's still a book. And then I published it, self-published it on Amazon. And so I get royalties from that ebook that I created. So you want to think about how you can use your intellectual property. The person that comes to mind, though, when it comes to licensing and royalties, you know, you think about all of these influencers. And the person that comes to my mind is Tabitha Brown. Like, she's getting royalties from all different directions. I mean, from spices, you know, for cooking, vegan, you know, healthy cooking, to apparel, to hair care products. And so she's essentially licensed her person, you know, her influence, so to speak. And so she's getting royalties from this. And you can do the same thing. You can put together, you know, write something that can be published, information, you know. Yeah, that's it. Antoinette, do you want to add anything to this strategy, licensing and royalties? You mentioned, but I know earlier you mentioned something about the SaaS product that you have. You license that to like 4 corporations. So you want to talk more about that?
So what I actually did with this particular, I use SaaS, I use the platform, and the platform that you can buy a subscription. And what happens is you can they call it white label. So you can use your SaaS platform if you white label it like you own it, and you create it under your own, enter your questions and all that. And then you can't sell the platform, but you can sell the tool. So what I created was like a toolkit. And I created a toolkit around women because I get so many questions about women who want to do federal contracting. I find myself answering the same questions over and over and over again. So I said, let me just do a tool. If they ask a question, if they say no to something, it spits back and gives them a whole, like, what they need to do if they don't know how to do it, instead of me sitting there for an hour or so, you know, just sharing the same information. So basically the tool, not only when you answer the questions, I customize it. When you answer the questions a certain way, if you say no, it gives you what you need to do to accomplish. If you say yes, it gives you another set of what strategies. So by the time you finish this particular tool, you get a 12 to 15 page PDF, which is like your own guidebook. And then it's almost like, I know people have heard of Myers and Briggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like taking a test and having a value, which is another stream of income. Having a value to something that you sell could be an assessment test. It could be something of that nature where you value it around the content that you do for your business anyway, and you sell it. So my goal is I sell my assessment for a certain price. And this is like having your own personal coaching session without having a personal coach. So that's kind of how
Yeah, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
So that's kind of what it basically what it is. And you have to be very important. When you create these things, you have to also think about your trademarks. So if you have a certain kind of name, because hypothetically, you could sell to somebody else to use, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I think about, and I read this book, and we talked about this the other day. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a book, and this is a fairly old book, but it's very full of gems. And it's Multiple Streams of Income by Robert G. Allen. And they talk about a story in there, how licensing started. And it basically started with Disney, the company Disney, and the brother, Walt Disney. And he was simply on a train one day, and there was this little mouse that was running around on the train. And he thought, wow, that's the cutest little mouse. And so he created a cartoon. That's how Mickey Mouse was created. And so what he did was he took that, just that cartoon, and he licensed it to a pencil maker. So then they started printing pencils with Mickey Mouse on it, or they might have, that's why that you see all of these products with a name on it. That means that someone bought the license to use their product. Like, he's not in the business of making pencils, but he's in the business of the cartoon creation. And so he partnered with the pencil maker, and just that was how he got started. You think of something so simple as that, that turns into something really, really big. I think I heard somebody in the background. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that little tidbit of information. It was very fascinating to me to read about how Walt Disney started with Mickey Mouse. So that's just a great story of licensing and royalties.
I love Betty Boops. Always love Betty Boops. And I would love to do something with Betty Boops on it, because it actually it originated with a African American woman. She originated Betty Boops, and I didn't know that at first.
Yeah, and the moment you said that you love Betty Boops and you would like to do something with Betty Boops, I was thinking, but I've never seen a Black Betty Boop. Hello.
But it was, Betty Boops is Black.
But the
Yes.
figure that we see is not Black.
Exactly.
She actually looks exactly, all they did is whitewash it. Like the character looks exactly like the Black Betty Boop.
Wow.
That was her, very popular, very famous, but yeah. Yep.
That's so interesting. And that's why it's important to protect your intellectual property, to trademark, to copyright, to patent. You gotta protect it, because it's a very painful thing to create something and someone steal it and turn it into something else. So the next strategy I want to talk about is contracting opportunities, contracting options. So when we think of contracting, I think the first thing that comes to most people's mind is federal, state, local government contracting. But there's also corporate contracting, which involves supplier diversity. So the example that I can think of would be UPS, for example. UPS is in the shipping business. They ship. They're not in the business of creating boxes. They actually have a supplier that supplies the boxes. And so what happens is these major corporations, they have a supplier diversity division where they want to diversify their suppliers to include minorities, marginalized people, groups of people that would not ordinarily get a contract. So these major corporations have these divisions called supplier diversity, and they open the doors, so to speak, to allow for those suppliers to become one of their suppliers. So when you think about contracting, you can think government, but you can also think corporate contracting. Me in particular, I've contracted, I've been on the supplier diversity with Goldman Sachs, with a company called Jumpstart. I actually I contract with some language schools. That's how I get access to these international students that come to America, specifically come to San Diego to, for example, learn English. So I contract with these language schools to have access to their database, their client base. So I don't know if you want to add anything to contracting, because I know that's like one of your major courses that you offer, Antoinette.
And contracting is so complicated because when we teach contracting, we basically try to say that just like when you talk about strategic planning, have a contracting plan of action. Because a lot of times, even some of the women wanting to go into federal contracting, they get overwhelmed. And if you're not consistent in terms of having a plan for who you want to go after, it just makes it so confusing. You're out there because it's all about building relationships, knowing what you want to do, and creating that plan and being consistent on just maybe exploring that one area, exhausting that and going on. So in contracting, it's just like you have to build relationships, know where to go. Don't let it exhaust you, because we know that as women of color, sometimes we go down the rabbit hole. They tell us to get all these certifications. We get them. We go to these entities that tell us to get the certifications. Then we still can't get contracts. So it's almost like just being really precise about what you want to do with contracting and leveraging that try to leverage your women-owned small business certifications to get a piece of the pie in different kind of ways. And what we teach is try to leverage simplify acquisition, sole source, set asides. But again, consistently doing your research, building those relationships, and really actually you got to do a lot of work behind it. It just does not always come overnight with some people. But I'm recommending that some ladies to consider that SBA Mentor Protege program and reach out to companies that need us in terms of as subcontractors. So that could be a strategy within itself. We do have some things in the chat. Let me read what somebody said something about Betty Boops, of course. Somebody said, what is the name of the SaaS platform? Now, if you research software as a service and you Google it, there are all kinds of SaaS platforms that come up. So depending upon what you want to do, and Tracy, you can call me and we can have like a conversation about what I did and so forth. But you have to research specifically what you're trying to do, because there are different SaaS platforms, but that's going to be applicable for, like, if you want to do a survey, if you want to do customized PDFs, so specifically SaaS platforms are across the board. SurveyMonkey is a SaaS platform.
What did you say, Antoinette?
SurveyMonkey.
SurveyMonkey, yes.
That's a SaaS platform. So I would say first research SaaS platforms, and then a name of some of the SaaS platforms, because there's so many of them, and you have to find out what you want to specifically do with it. And then you and I can have a conversation about it. Okay.
I would like to add to that, Antoinette. Speaking of SaaS platforms, you can also, when we talk about technology, you can utilize ChatGPT and ask about a SaaS platform for marketing. You can even ask your ChatGPT specifically what type of platform you're looking for. And that's another form of research, using ChatGPT as well, and asking those questions about the platforms, and they would spit out information.
Yeah.
So I think I put it, ChatGPT is a really good good AI technology-based resource. You can ask it any kind of questions about anything. You can put it in a SaaS platform for marketing, and it will spit out great information. They have a free open source platform as well for ChatGPT, but I think it's a great resource to ask information like you just pointed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also in this section, I have Latoya Southern said, I worked for Coca-Cola when the SD department was first started. They've actually had to go through being sued by employees and other small businesses to get to this decision. So I'm thinking that, Latoya, are you?
Yes, I can speak to this. So I was saying, so I was a part of or around when the initial employees, a lot of businesses, unfortunately, Coca-Cola being one of the first ones, had to go through, like I said, kind of being sued or being put, through legal issues in order for them to come to the decision that they need a supplier diversity department, that they need a DEI. DEI, of course, is the newer term for it, but I would say
Yep.
before that, it was supplier diversity. It was, and it wasn't specifically about the employees that work for the company. It was all the sub contractors. Coca-Cola, as we know, is very big in the Atlanta area. And a lot of businesses would not be where they are today. With, you know, I know a lot of people don't like Coke because it's big business and they say it takes from the smaller companies. But I mean, I used to work there down off of Marietta Street and just all those areas around the Georgia Tech, all around the campus of Coca-Cola. And some of these businesses, they would go and they would rent space around the business in order to be able to, you know, be able to be there quickly, all of the agencies and things like that. But a lot of Black businesses were struggling to get to be a part of their contractors. So they would, you know, be doing all the work, but they would never get ongoing contracts. They would be on a project by project basis. And they started arguing that and started saying, hey, this is not fair because so and so business who knew so and so, right? Who knew an executive or knew a board member or something like that, they were able to get the contracts. But those that were really doing the work were not. So I just know specifically about Coca-Cola, but I think a lot of the businesses unfortunately had to go through this. You think about your Home Depots and your Deltas and things like that. They had to go through being sued or being brought to lawsuit in order to make the decision that, oh, let's be fair now. Let's go ahead and have an actual department that confirms that, you know, and bring in a SDVP or something like that to confirm that, yes, we are going through the rules. And like I said, now it's called DE&I because employees have started arguing it more. But unfortunately, a lot of companies had to go through lawsuit to get to that decision.
To get to that point, yes. And even I believe the pandemic brought about even, you know,
Yes.
the situation that the race relations that we dealt with during the pandemic brought about opening some doors as well, because I know that there are different philanthropic foundations that are releasing all of this funding and these grants to, you know, diversified people, you know, or nonprofits that are owned by minorities or people that fall in that category. So there is a lot of opportunity and money out there. But like, you know, Antoinette says and Marionette says, and I'm saying, we do have to be very strategic. And I mean, you know, you don't necessarily have to go for the Fortune 500 companies. I mean, there are much smaller companies that do a lot of business with allow subcontractors to contract and so forth. So yes, you want to think big, you want to play big, but you don't have to go after the big, you know, the big corporations unless you have a product that is a killer product and you know that they need your product, then yes. But also think of some smaller corporations that are not as big as Coca-Cola. But yes, is it Latanya or Latoya?
Latoya, yes. And
Yeah.
to your point, I think that this was late 90s, early 2000s. So this was like, you know, before a lot of things like even the Beltline, like a lot of city contracts were going into place. I mean, I think there were even issues with the airport, right? And things that were going on there. So this was before that, but I think to your point, when everything happened in 2020, it's almost like it was going to a head. So you had the businesses that learned from it in the 90s and in the 2000s, and then now you have the newer business that are learning from it again. You know, unfortunately, I just feel like it takes sometimes a horrible situation or lawsuit or something like that for it to be brought to light. And no, you definitely don't have to go for you don't have to go towards the Coca-Colas or the, you know, Deltas or anything like that. But it's just those are the ones that are examples of it, you know, the big examples of like, okay, all right, if they're not gonna play fair, then we're gonna have to go to this. But you know, I've just seen it so for the last 20 years, I've just seen it so much where contractors and businesses that are doing the hard work all the time, you know, they have to fight for it every year and not be a part of the actual supply chain. They have to go above and beyond. I think it was Marinette said that you have to do a lot of work to get the contracts and things like that. But you know that, you know, those who know other people don't have to go through that. They literally have to give their name and their business information, and then they're in there. And that's not fair, but that's sometimes what you're fighting against as well.
Yep, and that's where, you know, that relationship building and that networking, and the next that actually segues into the next strategy, forming partnerships and joint ventures. You know, you can be a greater force when you partner with another small company or a few small companies, to pursue a subcontracting opportunity with, you know, as a supplier, as a diversity supplier. So, so with the partnerships and the joint ventures, you know, you want to connect with another entity, whatever the size is, whose offerings are complementary or congruent with your offerings. That makes for a good partnership. You either your products or your services complement one another, or they're in some way congruent, but there is a difference. And by forming this partnership, you're actually stronger. So you want to really think about ways to partner. For example, I mean, WEOP, you know, has been around, you know, for over 25 years. And WEOP services women business owners. And I consider myself as a women's empowerment speaker or coach or whatnot. And so I formed a partnership with them to be able, for example, to put on this workshop. So there's so many different ways to work the plan. I would say also look at sponsorships, look at ways that you can connect with a company that can sponsor, that can be a sponsor for a product or a service. Or if you have a 501c3, I mean, that's, you know, that's a really good way, because the sponsors and the big foundations, they really like to give grants to nonprofits and 501, like, you know, they really like to give money to the nonprofits. So you think of a way to, like, for example, me being in the travel and tourism industry, I have partnered with a few, like I take the students on a ski trip. So I partnered with a couple of outdoor apparel companies that provide, that really donate the ski wear for us to use on the ski trips. So, you know, you just have to be very creative, very methodical about how you connect and how you build that relationship, and hopefully show that you're creating and putting out a great, you're solving a problem to a social cause or something. That's what they like to see. Anything you want to add, Antoinette, on partnerships and joint ventures? I know that this is also a part of government contracting and ways. It's a strategy to go after contracts, is when you joint venture with a larger company and you present yourself as a potential subcontractor.
Actually, I said vet very carefully. Just like, it's almost like trying to find the right husband or mate. You don't want to do everybody, and not everybody you should be doing business with. I've heard some great, wonderful partnerships, and I've heard horror stories. So my thing is, just make sure you vet whoever you decide to go into business with. It can be a beautiful relationship that increases capacity for both businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I am going to have to plug my computer up, and I have to move to another area in this room, but I'm here with you. So the next one is solving a problem. So for example, you can actually have customers, your current customers that, for example, come to you with a particular problem, and you're able to serve them. You're able to turn that problem into a stream, a revenue stream. Turn the solving of the problem into a revenue stream. Sorry about that. So this is a good opportunity, particularly if you have a service-oriented business, and think about what your customers come to you with, what kind of problems or what kind of questions they bring to you. And then you can, like Antoinette said, she was getting the same questions over and over again. And instead of her explaining the process, she decided to create a tool that did the explaining for her, so that she solved a problem. So let's see here. So yeah, consider creating another division, department, or vertical within your business that solves a problem for your clients, your current client base. So for me, just to give you an example, I used to teach English as a second language. And they were recruiting host families for the international students. And so I decided I'll give it a try. They had a problem. They were short of host families for these international students. And so I said, okay, I'm going to help them solve a problem. Well, as it turns out, it has actually turned out to be a full-fledged business for me, where I actually have a bed and breakfast now that houses these international students. So I found a way to solve a problem that really actually was a pot of gold. It led to a much bigger opportunity than just simply teaching English as a second language. So that's just an example, a personal example from me of how I created a revenue stream, a profit center, I should say, by solving a problem. Any questions on that?
That sounds great that you did that. And that can be something that's ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, because the students they're always gonna, and I live in a hot spot. I mean, I live in San Diego, and San Diego is considered the most beautiful city in America. And so it's a tourist attraction. And so they're always going to come here to San Diego. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a pot of gold.
I do have a question. Do they have to have, usually with host families, you have to kind of be, what's the age, I guess I would say, because usually when they're a little bit younger, you have to have like someone who's almost like a parenting, over them. So is this that they're college age, so they really just need, okay.
Yeah, these are college age young adults for me. Some people, they delve into the younger age, the students that are still in high school and so forth. But no, I deal with the young adults. Yep. Yeah. So anyone else want to share an example of how they solved a problem within their business and actually created a department, a separate offering by solving that problem? Or can anyone think of a problem that they have? Yeah, let's put something out on the table and see if we all can brainstorm and come up with ways that you can turn whatever. So someone feel free to share a problem that you have.
Okay. Well, the problem, this is what I'm thinking of doing. So the problem I'm seeing, I do DIA and cultural intelligence training and leadership development. And so one of the things I've noticed is that there are a lot of individuals or colleagues who are in the training and development space that are speaking about those topics. However, they have yet to really grasp how to facilitate courageous conversations around these topics. So they're presenting and not really facilitating. And so basically their facilitation skills could be 5 times better. So I'm thinking, because I've been in this field or facilitating and training for over 20 plus years, I'm thinking of training people, either helping them get their certification or training them on how to be better facilitators and ways to get better engagement from the whoever they train. It's an idea.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Have you thought about being the entity that actually provides the certification?
I have, but there are big training entities and they seem to I was told it's really expensive.
No. I
And-
mean, why can't? Because I've even looked at it because I thought about doing a sort of, I'm saying you be the instance, the training would be your IP, right?
Mhm.
You create the training that builds facilitation skills. Why can't you have your own model training that when they go through your model training, 3-day, 2-day, whatever case may be, your company certifies them?
Right. I'd love for that to be the case. I just don't know how to go, how can I be the how do
The
I be
certifier.
the certifier?
Because when you do your research, what I've looked at, what is the criteria for somebody to certify another entity? If you're in academia, we know that they have to go do accreditation. When you can have a certification business that does not have to really go to any kind of certification, so it's not going to cost you anything. But maybe you do your research.
I have, and the company, there are 3 major training certification companies.
Mhm.
And literally I've looked at them and they're like 15 grand a pop, to be able to go through them and then become a certifier.
But what I'm saying is, why do you have to, and I don't know a lot about that, but why do you have to go through them? They're a business just like you are. Why can't you create kind of a niche for what? Some kind of niche where you can create your own certification. Mona, you see what I'm saying?
I think that you should actually pursue those three entities as a subcontractor. That sounds like a partnership opportunity. Because when you dig deep, you might find that these entities don't have people that
they
look
don't.
that look
They
like
don't.
you.
They don't.
That's what you're gonna bring to the table.
Yeah, keep your IP. Keep your IP, and maybe you can go to them and do a sub area working with them since they have a niche on the market. But make sure you do everything to keep your IP together so they don't take it and do it themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you approach them with it, of course, this happens over and over again. Oh, thank you. We're not doing that. You look up 2 or 3 months later, they have the same curriculum with the same thought process.
The other thing that comes to mind as an opportunity, a profit center or revenue stream for you could be for you, and I don't know if, I'll just say it. You could actually market your, because you said you're not just a facilitator, you said something else.
I'm a facilitator, I'm a trainer, and I'm also coaching. So
Okay.
I do coaching also, but I do cultural intelligence and competency for leadership or in general, but leadership and workforce development.
Okay, so have you pursued any of the professional organizations, like the professional personal development organizations, like the American Management Association?
No, not them. No, I haven't.
Okay, so what I would suggest that you do is look at a few professional organizations, like, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. The American Management Association, the American Marketing Association, the Society for Human Resource Management. So those organizations offer personal development courses to their members. And so they need trainers like you to talk about, you're a subject matter expert about that particular subject matter. And you approach them to be their trainer, their coach, whatever they call them, their facilitator. That would be a great way for you to partner and build on working with some larger entities than yourself.
Okay.
And then once you get a few of them on under your belt, even if you got one under your belt, say you got a contract with the American Management Association and you're one of their, I know for sure that they actually call them faculty. You and I both know that you're a trainer.
Right.
So say you won that contract and you become a trainer for American Management Association, then you can actually leverage the fact that you have that contract and you can take that to those other 3 big entities and, you know, market yourself as the subject matter expert and leverage the fact that you have a contract with the American Management Association, which serves like, you can do the research, but their membership is vast.
Okay.
Now,
So
Moni, you want to wrap up? We almost at time. I think you have one more slide, so we
Yeah.
can kind of leave you for thought.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so 2 more slides. So this one, freelancing or consulting, which is all of what we've already discussed, because essentially when you do some of those other strategies, you are operating as a consultant. So this one is a no-brainer. This includes any coaching, training, facilitating, anything to do with subject matter expertise, infopreneuring, that's considered consulting. All right, and then this final one is affiliate marketing. And you see this, I love this, this little display here. You're just attracting money to you. You're a money magnet, right? And most of the social media influencers, they have leveraged their influence to just laugh, going to the bank, doing this affiliate marketing. So I'll give you a real life example. I mean, of course, we have the celebrities that do this and that, but I'm just going to give you a personal real life example. My daughter she has a fairly small following. I mean, I think it's under 5,000, but it's probably more than 3,000. And my daughter is a surfer. She caught the surfing bug living here in California. And so of course, she's in high demand for affiliate marketing because she looks nothing like the traditional surfer. She's the opposite. She's highly melanated. She's probably 3 or 4 complexions darker than me. She has locks, like she is not the blonde, blue-eyed surfer. And so what she's done is, you know, she uses her Instagram to talk about surfing, which is something that she absolutely loves. And so now, you know, she's got affiliate marketing contracts with sunglass companies, swimsuit companies, different apparel companies, any kind of outdoor sports companies. She even, and I learned something new about this particular, you all have heard of Uggs, right? So she even has a affiliate marketing contract with Uggs. Well, little did I know, Uggs was actually those little ugly boots. They were created for surfers, because when surfers go out in the ocean, specifically the Pacific Ocean, it's very cold. And so they created these Uggs for the surfers to use to warm their feet up. And, you know, Uggs are very popular, mainstream, popular and all. But the fact of the matter is that it began in the surfing industry. So anyways, the bottom line is that she's actually used her social media influence to gain some of these affiliate marketing contracts. Well, you might say, well, I don't have a big social media following, but you're doing something, whether you're selling a product or a service, you use somebody's products. I mean, even if it's a printer, okay? You're using their product to print your whatever you're printing. You can go to those companies that where you use their products, and you can market yourself to them as their ambassador, so to speak. So I can't think of what's the name of a printing company, like a printer that you would have in your office?
HP.
HP, Hewlett Packard. So say you use HP and you have a marketing company. So you're printing a lot of brochure, like you're printing a lot of marketing information. And you go to HP and you say, hey, you know, I'm connected with, you know, 1,000 small business owners who could use your product. Why don't we partner and I become your affiliate marketing partner and see if I can get these small business owners to buy Hewlett Packard printers. So that's just a simple example of how you can look beyond the fact that you may not have social media following and so forth. You use some products in your business, and so you can really go to those companies to inquire about being an affiliate marketer. And so that actually ends the discussion today.
Mona, can you share your daughter's handle?
Oh, it's Sierra Raquel. So let me see if I can, I'll spell it. It's SIERRARAEQUEL. Sierra Raquel.
Hey, do that again. Do it again. SIERRARAEQUEL. Sierra Raquel. Okay, I put it in the chat. So we're
Yep.
following. Yay. Okay, so we're
Yay.
I've
So-
added the 9. I know
What's
someone
that?
someone was asking what the list of all the 9 strategies you
Oh,
gave.
here,
So-
let me.
I
let
was
me
gonna
give
ask if you
this-
could go back to that slide. Yeah. The
Oh,
slide that
okay.
showed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll-
just do a
I'll-
screenshot.
Okay, because I was typing it in there, so I was like,
Okay, so yeah, do a screenshot or take a picture of it. And then I'm gonna get to our last slide. Everybody got it? I can always go back to it. But our last
If you
slide.
like the presentation, if you want the presentation, email me. I'm putting my
Yeah, so now the ball is in your court. What do you need to do? You need to research, and identify the various ways you can generate income for your small business. So you might want to choose, you know, one of these strategies. Do some research, do your SWOT analysis. You know, it has to make sense. It's got to be a SMART goal. Like it's got to be specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time conscious. It's got to be a SMART goal. And you want to look at the market demand. So that's a part of the SWOT analysis. And analyzing the competitors, what the competitors are doing. They're in their different revenue streams. And maybe steal one of their ideas, you know, and add something to it, add some lipstick to it to make it, you know, just a little sexier or just a little better. But you do want to create a comprehensive business plan that outlines your chosen income revenue. I like to say revenue streams, profit centers. And so you do want to go through the same process when you started your business. You created a business plan, like you want to see some financial projections. It's got to make sense. You want to have a marketing strategy, and that could involve, you know, 1, 2, or 3 approaches that you will pursue. And then also be prepared to adapt your revenue streams and marketing strategies based on the change in market dynamics, your customer preferences or emerging trends. So we know that one of the greatest emerging trends is artificial intelligence. So you always have to keep that at the forefront of any planning, that any strategizing that you do. All right, and so I don't have my contact information simply because, again, I mentioned earlier that I'm partnered with WEOP. And so if you have a question or you want to stay tuned for something that WEOP will offer that goes into more depth on any one of these strategies, just be on the lookout for that. And
Well,
that,
thank
that
you. Yeah, thank you.
concludes-
Yeah, thank you for such a great presentation. If we do a part 2, we can still get into good examples of what people were doing, because we tried to, we didn't have a lot of time. Auburn has not a lot of time to really dive into affiliate marketing or AI, but we're hoping that in this session, it provided you with a great overview. So on behalf of the audience, everyone's saying, thanks, Mona. Thank you for great information. Awesome. We want to thank people like you, entrepreneurs, for taking time to share this great information. So
Absolutely.
I put my email in the chat, anyone wanting to reach out. And of course, the presentation is available especially for all of our WEOP members as well. But I want to end with a note saying, again, thank you, Mona. Thank you all for attending, and everyone have a great day, and make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. We have a lot of great events for Women's Small Business Month coming up in October. So with that said, we are going to sign off.